Good morning and welcome back to another episode of SoFlo Morning News. I'm your host, Atticus Ramirez, along with
Sebastian Aguilar.
Today is Friday, January 31st, and now it is time for our pledges.
Now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now it's time for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now it's time for the OWL Pledge. I will succeed in school with wisdom and with knowledge. I'll give 100%. I will go to college. I'll do whatever it takes, just like my parents do. I'll sweat the small stuff, just like my teachers do. I'll give no excuses each and every day. I'll close the achievement gap, working hard in every way. With my team and family, I give my OWL Pledge. I will succeed in school with wisdom and knowledge. Go Owls! Hoot hoot! Now it's time for the moment of silence.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the next segment of the SoFlo SciShow, brought to you by me, Haley Perales. Unfortunately, again, Albie is not present, as you can not see. Fun fact of the day: did you know that anglerfish, when they mate, afterwards their bodies melt into each other, and now they share the same body forever and ever? So this anglerfish could potentially be two, and you'll never know unless you do some scientific stuff. But we're not going to get into that today. Today, we will be going deeper into outside physical characteristics. Today, we will be talking about the first immortalized cell. So, immortal as in you live forever. But not just people, but their cells. Yeah. So, let's start with what an immortalized cell is. So, an immortalized cell, there's more than three different ways to get to an immortalized cell, but here are the three ways that I am telling you. There's spontaneous mutation, there's introducing a viral gene that overrides the cell cycle, and then, bear with me. There is another one called expression of telomerase reverse transcription. Yes, and it is like a protein. So in spontaneous mutation, basically, here is an example of what happens during spontaneous mutation. So it is when a primary cell is mutated, and it breaks the original cell division and cell cycle. And what happens is that the mutation continues to grow forever and ever and ever, creating a malignant tumor. Now, this malignant tumor is a growth within the cells, so the cell division is being broken because of spontaneous mutation. Next, the introduction of a viral gene. Basically, this means that viral genes impact the cell cycle, so they are able to establish and become an immortalized cell when a viral gene is put into a cell. Next, you have the expression of telomerase reverse transcriptase protein, or TERT, a cool, fun acronym. Basically, the telomerase is ribonucleoprotein. If you're interested in that, please do research. That would be interesting. And basically, it's able to extend the DNA sequence of telomerase. And what happens is it makes the cells undergo an infinite cell division. So these cells just keep on dividing and making more and more cells, making it immortal. Okay, so a malignant tumor, as I have mentioned before, a malignant tumor is a tumor made of cancer cells that can spread and invade nearby tissues. So these cancer cells can move into like bloodstreams, lymph nodes, which is a no-no. And when it spreads into other parts of the body, it metastasizes. So here's an example of a malignant tumor. So here's a cell, here's a malignant tumor, and then it opens up and it invades other cells around it. Next, who is Henrietta Lacks? Listen, everybody. Henrietta Lacks is a woman, a black woman, a very important black woman to science history. So she is a young mother of 5. She was born in 1920 and died in 1951. And she is a woman, an African American woman who changed the face of science as forever. So, why were her cells important? Listen. Her cells were extremely important to science because when she went into the Johns Hopkins Hospital, her gynecologist took a sample of her cervical cancer cells. And Dr. George Guy, which is a scientist, he took those cells for a biopsy, and he was able to grow more cells from it. Now, normally in his science lab, these cells usually die. But Henrietta Lacks, her cells were immortalized cells. So they continued to grow and continue to grow. Normal cells usually die, but her cells doubled their size every 20 to 24 hours. So what happens is Dr. Guy found out and he said, "Ooh, that's so cool," and he started selling her cells and giving them away to other scientists without her knowing about it. So her cells were extremely important because they allowed scientists and doctors to test different types of drugs, toxins, radiation without harming humans. So her cells today are known as HeLa, like this, HeLa. Now, this just means that they use the first 2 letters of her first name and the first 2 letters of her last name. And that is it for today, owls. We will see you all in the classrooms. Hoot hoot!
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Inahusa Report. As always, it is your co-anchor, Steven Inahusa. Unfortunately, my main anchor here was not able to make it today as he is sick. All right, we have mostly, all domestic stories for today. We're going to start off. This past Wednesday, we saw a fire break out in the west side of LA at the Barrington Plaza Apartments. This high-rise building was set ablaze at around 8:30 a.m. A large amount of firefighters, 300 to be exact, responded to the incident and put the fire out in just about an hour and a half, and that meaning it was done by 10 a.m. In total, we saw that 8 people were injured or taken to the hospital and put in critical condition at the end of the fire, including a 3-month-old baby. This fire, however, was mostly on the 6th floor and able to be put out, like I said, quickly. The fire was kind of suspicious, seeing that there was another fire only 3 blocks away at another high-rise building in LA, which was thought to be investigated with the Barrington Plaza, but at the end of the day was seen that there are no nuances between the 2 fires, and aside from the type of building they were and the area of LA that they are in. Pretty good story, that seeing that nobody was seriously injured or no fatalities, but also not something they see in the news every day. This is another story coming from this past weekend. Many of you obviously may know that the NBA star Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash, including his 13-year-old daughter. This was totally unexpected for everyone, as it's not something you see every day, especially for a celebrity. When it is a celebrity, it is obviously reported on very majorly. With that said, Kobe was a decorated NBA player, had multiple, about 5, I believe, championships, and multiple MVP trophies from the NBA. And this, like I said, was just seen as a shock to everyone. Almost expected that it wasn't real. As I'm pretty sure y'all know that it was covered almost everywhere and all over social media. Just something very sad that we don't expect to see at the beginning of a week. All right, on a more local look at news here in recently, a New York tech firm called Smart Asset was recently tasked with listing the worst to best cities for traffic. With that said, they used 6 factors from the 2018 U.S. Census to build up their claims. On that list, San Antonio came in at number 12. That may not seem as a big deal, except that's one up from Houston and tied with LA. That is insane that we have the same amount of traffic as LA, and something you don't really expect or think when you're in the car on the way home or wherever you're going. With that said, on average, in 2018, people in San Antonio said they spent about 24 minutes in the car on the way to work, and in the per day. Sorry. With this said, this is an this is a worsening increase of 6% from the last 5 years. And if you're wondering, at the top of the list with the worst traffic in all of the United States was the Mojave Desert of the suburbs of North Las Vegas. That is all for the domestic news we have today. We always say, do your research, stay informed. This is Keno Host Support signing out. Oh man, can't wait for next week's.
Yo, sit down. You might want to sit down for this. Hi, my name is Isaac Alfaro, and today we're going to be talking about, you guessed it,
Weather.
Anywho, guys, get this. The sun, still non-existent. Where'd
it go?
Sun? We need to have, like, a search party for the sun because, man, has it been chilly. There's going to be, okay, so it's currently Friday, right? We're going to have a high of 64 degrees and a low of 37 degrees.
Chilly.
Now, that is extremely cold. Almost too cold for Texas. Jacket time.
That's all for the weather. Isaac, we'll see you next week.
All right, and welcome back to SoFlo Sports with Atticus and
Sebastian.
Okay, we have a lot to talk about, but first we're going to mention a few things. We're going to mention not only the recent passing of one of the NBA's biggest icons, but also talk about the All-Stars, the starters results, who's going to be the captains, and then we're also going to finally get into Super Bowl predictions. So let's start off, Sebas.
First off, it was a very sad week for the NBA community as players and fans alike lost a great inspiration to the game in Kobe Bryant.
Okay, and then we also have All-Star voting. All-Star voting has already concluded, and they've already announced who's going to be not only the captains, but also who else is going to be the starting lineup. And later on, they'll announce who's going to be on the reserves. So first, let's talk about the starters.
Coming from the West, we have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Luka Doncic all starting for the Western Conference. The captain for the Western Conference is, of course, going to be LeBron James.
No brainer.
No-brainer.
I didn't vote for him because I knew he was going to be captain regardless. And Davis, I voted him just so that he can get in before Karl-Anthony Towns.
Of course.
I did not want Towns to be All-Star. And to be honest, Harden being an All-Star was like, that was the only thing that was disappointing. This whole lineup is really good, but I don't know why.
I think the person that makes me the most happiest on this list is Luka Doncic. First All-Star appearance, he's been playing really great, and I'm happy that people voted for him and that he's on there as a starter.
It's barely a second season, and he's already got the All-Star. Also who has a second season is also the starter for the East, Trae Young, along with Kemba Walker, Pascal Siakam, which I'm happy that he got in, Joel Embiid, and of course the captain being of not only from last year, but this year, Giannis. This is a solid lineup for the East. Not only do we have former champion with Siakam, but then also we have Kemba Walker, who's been great this season, and Trae Young, who, although been on a team who has been on a losing sort of way, but Trae Young has been the one who's truly been the star. And these two, who are not only fighting for Rookie of the Year last year, are now for sure All-Stars. And do you see his reaction on Twitter?
I did not.
It was great. He was crying. He was so happy when he saw his jersey. And finally, this is it. This is the big thing. We're going to talk about Super Bowl predictions. This has been a long and sort of winding road of the playoff games. But finally, we have the two combatants, San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just get right into it. Is that Wes?
Well, we have an offensive powerhouse in the Kansas City Chiefs and a defensive powerhouse in the San Francisco 49ers. It'll be a complete offense to defense game. In the end, I do believe that the offense will win. And I believe that the Chiefs are going to take it all.
All right. This was tough because Mahomes has been on a roll. He's been on a roll for not only since he got into the NFL, but for the playoffs as well. He's come back from 24, for the Houston game, it was like 24-10. It was like 24-7. And then from the Titans game as well. So they've proven themselves of not only being great under pressure, but I don't know. San Francisco defensively is going to be the biggest thing, and the toughest challenge for them is how many times are we going to have Mahomes on the field? They're going to have to reduce by like a margin of how many times he's on the field, because the more chances they get, the more time they get for able to score and come back. But also, too, these two offenses are very different. With Mahomes, of course, he has his no-look passes, and he's got everything offensively going for him with his tight ends and everything. But San Francisco is a running team, and they have, of course, in this tournament alone, in this playoff, have dominated and run through everybody they possibly can. And it's not just because of one guy, like Tennessee, but it's multiple guys who are running the ball, getting yards. And I think, for me, I'm going to go with the 49ers. I'm sorry, Mahomes. I'm sorry, Mahomes. For me, also, do you think Mahomes had an easier way to the playoffs than the 49ers?
I personally do think that the AFC was a little bit weaker than the National. However, I do acknowledge that the 49ers have a really good, strong run game in Mostert. But I also see that in the few games that the Kansas City Chiefs, or Patrick Mahomes more specifically, has struggled is when he's under pressure. That's something the 49ers are really good at doing. However, I believe Mahomes proved himself in the AFC Championship game, knowing that he can do very well under pressure with running the football on his own, throwing on the run. It's something that he's really good at. Also, the Kansas City Chiefs, although they're not known for their defense, they do have a strong defensive line that can cause pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is known as a fast trigger thrower, kind of like Drew Brees. He excels at the slant route, and I feel that if he's under pressure enough, I don't think that the offense will get going, even with the run game being another element to their offensive game.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you that Kansas City does have a solid defense. I didn't say it was, but compared to the 49ers, it's sort of, they win almost, not decisively, but not questionably, they win within defense. I feel like the defense will be more important for the 49ers than the offense, and I feel like the defense are going to be almost somewhat dominant over, a little bit dominant, and maybe in the first half, and then just like we've seen over and over, Mahomes, he may get 7, 8 touchdowns and may run in a few for himself, and this is going to be a great game. I think it'll be way better than last year. Better than last year.
I believe that the final element of who's going to win this game comes down to field position through defensive play.
I agree too. And also too, this is a great clash between two coaches, especially the father and son coach of the 49ers. At the same time,
it's a great change of feeling for a Super Bowl, since we don't have the Patriots.
This is finally a new decade and no Patriots. And Tom Brady, who's questionably up in the air whether or not he'll stay or not, that'll be probably a topic for
another
maybe
time
next week. But these two teams, if you would have told me it would have been these two teams, I would have not believed you, because I would have said either maybe Seattle would have taken it, and then obviously the favorite, the Ravens, would have possibly been there.
ESPN's favorites in the power rankings were the Saints and the Patriots. So for it to come down between the 49ers and the Chiefs is just a ridiculous change.
It's monumentally different. It's monumentally so drastically changing, but we'll see. Enjoy the game, and this is it for all SoFlo Sports. And now it's time for some announcements. 11th grade field trip to the San Antonio Library. Today, 11th grade scholars will be going on the trip via bus and will go to the library to access and find resources for their extended essay. So good luck in finding your resources. Good luck in attaining knowledge.
February 5th, on a Wednesday from 4 to 9 p.m., there will be a Peter Piper Pizza fundraiser. It'll be a night of fun and games, and 15% of all your purchases will go to Idea South Flores.
Valentine's Day dance on Saturday, February the 15th. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Saturday, February 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. Middle school will be having a middle school Valentine's Day dance, and from 8 to 10 p.m. will be the high school dance. For tickets, $5 for middle schoolers and $7 for high schoolers. So,
Hope to see y'all there.
exactly. And then that is all for today. I'm Atticus Ramirez.
I'm Sebastian Aguilar.
See you all in the classrooms. Hoot hoot.